making you hate these Middle Eastern people right away, and so that when you go out there, you have your reaction training. You have no time to think. You see, and you kill, and you do it out of spite. Like it seems that's what they want, you know.
Right. Mike, talk a little bit, please, about the Winter Soldier. I'm sure you've been aware of.
Yes, actually, in the movie Sir No Sir, they talk about the Winter Soldier during the Vietnam War, which is where a large number of Vietnam veterans got together and held hearings in which they spoke about the atrocities that they saw. And that was a pivotal moment. There's actually, if you go to the sirnosir.com website, the film Winter Soldier is available on that website that shows in great detail actual film footage of the hearings. And in fact, Senator John Kerry has a brief appearance in the film when he was a young man. And then what happened was very recently, Iraq Veterans Against the War had another Winter Soldier hearing in which Iraq veterans, several hundred of them, spoke out about the atrocities that they had seen.
Right, I saw some of that footage on Democracy Now!, Amy Goodman's program, and one of the most horrendous testimonies I heard was one young man saying how he was trained with the human dummy, as you just mentioned, Eddie, but in this case it was with a knife, and they had to yell "kill, kill, kill" every time they stabbed the dummy over and over and over again. And one of the things that I wanted both of you to touch on in the few minutes we have left is the effect of the war on the people who are being made to commit these atrocities, being forced to commit them. And as you mentioned earlier, with various threats hanging over their head, dishonorable discharge, you'll never get a job, so.
All of which turned out to be thoughts in the case of my generation.
Exactly. But on the other hand, it is scary to the idea of going to jail and,
Right.
and the stop loss that's occurring and all that. But go ahead, you wanted to say something.
Well, I mean, one thing that's really prominent right now and what's happening even right here in San Francisco, I mean, the VA has been on trial for hiding information that they had about veterans returning home from Iraq and Afghanistan. I mean, recent veterans, and like there's studies saying that something like 16 veterans had killed themselves per day or something like that.
Well,
yes, that's right.
Well, yeah, it's right. 115, I believe, it was in the day's paper, I think, 115 have already killed themselves.
This year.
That is documented as suicides as a direct result of the war.
That just shows you what's happening to vets that come home right now. I mean, I don't know how many documented cases. There's thousands of them. Right?
Well, during the Vietnam War, there's 60,000 names up on the wall that were killed in action in combat in Vietnam, but over 100,000 committed suicide by their own hand after the war, and that number is still continuing to rise.
Well, I've seen people, and I even have a relative that was in Vietnam that came back a completely different person. It does change people, and many are suffering from PTSD. But more than that, what's really terrible is the treatment that they get at the VA hospitals. And of course, there was that terrible scandal at the Walter Reed. Scandalous, but I've lived in some of their medical prisons, as I called them, and they're horrible. So I can attest to how long it takes to get benefits. It took me 2 years, so we're almost completely out of time. But so I'm going to allow each of you to have a few words, in about 30 seconds.
Why don't you go ahead?
Go ahead.
Wow.
Okay, I'll go first.
Go ahead.
Okay, well, I'd like to mention that I'm also involved in the Watada Support Committee.
Good.
First Lieutenant Aaron Watada was the first Army officer to publicly refuse orders to Iraq, and there's the www.thankyoult.org website that supports him. And if people want to look for Veterans for Peace, it's veteransforpeace.org.
And Eddie?
Yeah, I'll just say today, it's really important that everybody gets going and gets on the movement, and it's a little disheartening to see that the anti-war movement is as big as it should be, but I mean, people still need to.
We have to stop this war.
We have to stop this war and do everything in your power that you can. avert soldiers that you know to talk to ivaw.org or Courage to Resist or any of these organizations.
And that's about all the time we have. Thank you so much, Eddie Falcon and Michael Wong. And I want to encourage our viewers, please, to tune in next week, because we're going to have as our guest on Freedom is a Constant Struggle, Elizabeth Betita Martinez, who has just finished a brand new book, 500 Years of a Chicana Women's History. I want to thank Arnel Valle for board opping, and thank you for tuning in, and all power to the people. Stop this nasty war and free them all. All right. So I think that's about it for us.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you again.
Okay. All right.
Okay, just about there. Hang tight. I've got 30 seconds left. Just relax. Okay, 20 seconds. And I'll count you down.
I have to let
Coming
people
up
know that
15.
Matita,
Right.
Batita.
Kilo. We're going to be coming in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Take a deep breath.
Good evening and welcome to Freedom is a Constant Struggle with your host Kilu Nyasha, engineered by Arnel Valle. I regret to inform you that this evening we were going to have as our guest Elizabeth